Hello and welcome to Weird Around Illinois. Some of you may recall a few months ago we had a listener submit a report about a possible Bigfoot sighting in Waterman, Illinois. We decided to go and take a closer look at that area. So let's talk about it and let's get weird. The first thing that we should probably tell you is that the sighting took place at a pond in Waterman, Illinois. And for the life of me, I could not find a pond in Waterman, Illinois. I looked at Google Maps, I looked at Google Earth, I looked at actual road maps and could find nothing. So we had to kind of approximate the Waterman area for our searches. But let's go back to that original report and hear exactly what they said.
Right. Previously made a video on this, but we'll reread their report here. I was fishing at a pond in Waterman, Illinois on a Friday or Saturday night. I can't remember which. Everything got very quiet and this eeriness came over the area. I didn't smell or see anything until I looked across the back of my pickup truck at the right rear passenger corner, and it was standing there. About 7 feet tall and about 3.5 feet across the shoulders. And I thought I was going to this is the funny part, doo-doo my pants. It never made any aggressive moves or any hostile gestures. I dropped my fishing pole and walked backwards all the way down into the pond, into the water up to my neck. The creature walked right to the edge of the water and the rocks and stood there and watched me for the longest time, then just walked away. Never made another sound, nothing. 15 minutes. Later, all the crickets and frogs started making noise. I loaded up my fishing gear and got the hell out of there, and I've never been back to Waterman Pond since then to go back fishing at night.
Can't say I blame them.
Yeah. When someone gets that close to you, yeah.
Yeah. So again, it takes place in a pond, and I couldn't find a pond in Waterman, Illinois, so we looked for lakes and ponds nearby, and we found a couple of forest preserves and state parks centered around this rather large lake. And so that's where we went first. The first stop was the Chief Shabbona Forest Preserve, and I saw on the map that it was really close to a lake and it had some trails, and the thought was that we would just walk on the trails, get to the lake, do a little fishing, see if we could maybe recreate the incident. But there were some problems with this. I guess I'll start with the good news. I mean, the good news is those trails were so squatchy. I mean, yeah. You expected to see Bigfoot coming around every tree.
Yeah. The further we got in there, the slightly deeper it got. Like one side seemed super just infinite with stuff, and the other side was more clear, like a field beyond the forest.
Yeah, which was actually kind of reminded me of some of the places we've seen dogman sightings before, or heard about dogman sightings before.
Yeah, pretty nice.
Yeah, but the trails. Normally when you have a forest preserve on a lake, you have a trail that leads you to the lake.
Yeah.
This one led around and around and around the lake. It never really got close to the lake.
Yeah. When we first, got out of our car and made the real hike, it took us a while to realize we weren't even close to the lake.
Yeah.
The whole reason we went here, for context, was to get to this pond, lake, whatever is close, whatever this person was near. It was person and tail that they were essentially able to back up, get really close to the pond. Fish. We never got to that ever.
No, and the frustrating part was we kept looking at the map and seeing that the lake actually wasn't that far away. It's just that there was nothing but dense foliage between us and the lake, and the part they cleared out for the path didn't go anywhere near the lake.
Yeah, I was hoping there was a hidden trail or something that I didn't see on Google Maps. But.
Yeah, on that trip, at one point I remember saying, if only we had an ATV, we could have hopped on that and could have just went right through all that brush, and we would have been just fine.
Right.
Yeah.
But no.
Yeah, the way it was, if we tried that, we would have come back with 3,000 ticks and probably a rattlesnake or two.
Maybe. If it was elevated enough, maybe not.
Yeah. Well, I meant if we tried it on foot without the ATV.
Yeah. Yes, of course.
Yeah. But yeah, so it was very frustrating, even though it was some good-looking Sasquatch type area. I maybe would have enjoyed it more if I wasn't carrying all of our fishing gear.
Yeah.
That was probably a poor choice. But at some point we realized we weren't going to see the water alive if we kept going the way we were going. So
at that point we kind of just said, "Hey, I see it in the distance. We're getting there."
Yeah. So we headed back and decided to rethink this and try another approach.
And that was well over a couple miles by then.
Yeah.
In total.
So I remember seeing on Google Maps there was a Shabbona Lake State Park, and so I remember looking at the maps and looking to see where that was and if it was at like a different part of the lake. It turned out it was on the opposite part of the lake, but it'd bring us like right to the lake where we could probably fish or something. So we ended up just going there, and it ended up being a lot better than the Forest Preserve.
It was better in terms of fishing. We got really, really close to the lake, and you could even make an argument that this was the sort of place where he could have been parked when he saw the Bigfoot. But the problem is the woods weren't as dense in that part.
Yeah.
I'd get the feeling that on the opposite side of the lake, there would be maybe something there. But yeah, it was highly populated and really just a parking lot and a couple docks for boats. That's all that was there. Plenty of people going there every once in a while.
We did get to test our new strategy, though, and we kind of developed this a year or so ago at Bussy Woods, but when people report seeing Bigfoot or Dogman or Mothman, they're very rarely looking for them. Usually it happens when they're out hiking or camping or fishing. So our approach this year, when we have a spot near a lake, we're going to go out and we're going to fish. We're going to bring our cryptid hunting gear with us. We're going to bring the thermal cameras. We're going to bring all of our camera gear. But we're just going to fish and see what happens. And I think that's going to work for a couple reasons. I mean, number one, it gives us something else to do. So we're not, obsessively stomping through the woods, scaring off all the cryptids. And we don't look like we're hunting cryptids, so they're not going to be suspicious of us.
Yep.
The other thing it does is it allows us to stay out there a little bit longer. Because it's hard to just sit in the woods for 3 hours listening. But if you're out there fishing and actually doing something, productive with your time, you can stay out there a heck of a lot longer.
Not that our fishing at the time was productive at all. It was not.
No, not really. I think a little too early in the year. I think the water was too cold.
Yeah, and it's a shame because, the water was pretty clear. Normally when we go fishing, I see a lot of swampy stuff and a bunch of filth that, get caught on. This was a pretty clean lake.
Yeah, it really was.
Yeah, we got nothing. We got a couple bugs, I guess, but...
Yeah, I got a bite or two.
Yeah, I think I got one at one point, but...
Yeah. So that was Shabbona Lake State Park, and turned out we stayed out fishing just long enough for their famous restaurant to close. So we needed to find a place to eat on the way home.
Yeah. We just turned around, just aimed towards home. You asked me to just go on Google Maps, find something that's, in the direction that we're going. Something kind of not fancy whatsoever, closer to fast food.
Yeah, well, there were some very specific criteria because you were really hungry, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he made it really clear to us that McDonald's or Taco Bell was not going to do it for him.
Yeah, a Crunchwrap Supreme was not going to do it.
Yeah, but at the same time, we were already late to come back and take care of our sick dog, and I was already going to probably get killed by their mother for keeping them out this late, especially since somebody had a final exam the next day.
It's fine, I passed it.
Yeah, true. But, so it had to be quick, but not fast food. So my criteria was find a place that serves burgers, like really fast and good. And you came through for us.
Yeah, no, I just went to town, found something called the Pub West / Trackside Grill. Now that's all in one kind of tiny warehouse building thing.
If you notice, it has 2 different addresses.
Right.
Yeah, it's really cool.
2 different entrances, which were kind of swapped actually on Google Maps.
Yeah.
The restaurant entrance was kind of like the thinner wall.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it was the pub entrance was kind of on the side, whereas the restaurant entrance was kind of in the front.
Yeah.
They reversed it on Google Maps, so we ended up walking right into the bar. But yeah, so we went there, and I gotta say, not since Wild Willie's Roadhouse have I enjoyed the look and feel of a place as much as this.
Yeah. I use the term authenticity a lot, and I think this is a great representation. I mean, when we walked in, obviously there was the bar side. That we come across that a crap ton when we go to these places. I mean, that's almost a vital component.
Yeah.
But very simple seating.
Paper plates at the table.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We have those exact same paper plates. That's why it was so authentic.
True.
Yeah.
It just matched our vibe pretty much completely to a T.
It was what we needed that night.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie to you. It wasn't like Bigfoot burger. It wasn't the best burger I've ever had in my life, and it wasn't, fine dining. But it was exactly what we were looking for.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they ended up getting the food out really quickly.
They did, and they brought out. Well, first of all, the guy bringing out the food. I mean, he looked straight out of Mountain Monsters, and he was. I mean, couldn't have asked for a more fitting cook for that night for us.
And to add on to this, the context behind this was they had 10 minutes to push this out. They were closing the kitchen 10 minutes after we got there. So it's like we put in an order super fast. We got the appetizer, main entrees, get out of there.
And he brought it out like it was 10 minutes till quitting time for him too.
Yeah.
It was like, okay, who got the trackside burger? It was beautiful.
Yeah.
But they had something there called Parmesan nuggets, which I had never really seen before, and I really enjoyed them actually.
Yeah. I mean, we got the option of cheese curds. Thinking back, I really wonder how those would have been.
Yeah.
I'm sure they would have been just as good, but yeah, we all just kind of went wild and chose something new with that.
Yeah, the best way I could probably describe a Parmesan nugget is if they were to take a Little Caesars slice of crazy bread, flatten it and cut it into squares, and then fry it for a minute or two before they throw extra Parmesan on it.
Yeah, it had that kind of donut kind of feel to it, but like at the same time, savory.
Yeah. All in all, very nice. I enjoyed it, and I really got the feeling that all the food there was like handmade from scratch.
Yeah, and for once it was actually crispy. Because I've had similar dough things covered in various toppings, and I mean, yeah, the recipe for that must have been good and nice and crispy on the outside. That's all I asked for.
Yeah. And another reason why I went to this restaurant is because I had to really use the bathroom. That was another reason why.
Yeah, that's true. We couldn't just go to a drive-through or something because it had been a long time out on the lake and in the woods and everywhere else. So. The burgers were good, right?
Yeah.
It's certainly hearty. I mean, that was at least a half-pound burger.
It was a little bit burnt, which is really 99% of the time how we want it. I mean, you have to get it well done. But yeah, actually, the bun was actually toasted.
It was.
Yeah.
Like noticeably toasted.
Uh-huh.
And the fries were definitely hand-cut fries. They burnt them, which I appreciated.
Yeah, I don't know about those fries though, because like the taste was a little bit, way to put it, bitter to a degree, missing salt for sure. That's definitely a component, but that's also kind of a repercussion of burning it. But
yeah, it is. But if they'd been saltier, I don't think you would have noticed it.
Yeah,
I think they clearly just needed a little more salt.
Sea salt.
Yeah.
Another thing I wanted to add is my water kind of tasted like Coke. It was weird.
Yep, me too. I kind of liked it, except hopefully there was no alcohol in that one.
Yeah. And my Coke did not taste like Coke. So I'm not quite sure what happened there, but it was overall the food was what we were looking for. And
Yeah.
I had to take advantage of the situation and try my best to be Bryce for a few moments. And I went up to the bar to talk to the waitress slash bartender, who had been really friendly and really helpful that night. I said, we do this podcast called Weird Around Illinois, and we got a report from somebody about seeing Bigfoot in Waterman, Illinois. And I figure if that story's going around, it must have come through this pub at some point. Have you ever heard any of your regulars talking about seeing Bigfoot? And she said no. And then, much to my surprise, she turned to the rest of the bar where her regulars were gathered and said, "Hey, this guy's looking for Bigfoot. Any of you guys seen him?"
Yeah, it was exactly like that. And I just like turned my head slightly to watch this go down.
Yeah, me too. I'm just kind of listening. I'm like, all right, what is he up to now?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was stuffing my face with fries and stuff.
Yeah, it was an awkward moment, but I kind of enjoyed it too, because I feel like half the people there were probably too drunk to remember that night anyway. So, but
Yeah.
I got the usual calls that you would expect from everybody at the end of the bar, comparing their shoe sizes. And there's one lady who had some helpful information about sighting Bigfoot in Tennessee. Apparently she'd spent some time in Tennessee and said that Bigfoot sightings are actually quite common there. So we'll add that to our list of vacation destinations. But nobody claimed to have seen the Bigfoot of Waterman, Illinois. So I left one of our cards and told them if they ever see Bigfoot or a UFO, which had also apparently been sighted in Waterman once, or a ghost or anything of that nature, to give us a call.
Yeah. Actually, I just wanted to add real quick. When we're in like the Shabbona Lake State Park and whatnot, we weren't actually technically in Waterman. We were just near it. But once we got to the restaurant, that was technically in Waterman.
Right. Yeah, good point. Yeah, that was Shabbona. We actually were west of Waterman. It was the nearest big body of water we could find to Waterman, so it was fairly close. But you're right. The pub was right in the town, so you'd think if something went down in Waterman, they would know about it.
Yeah.
Something special about Waterman.
Yeah.
The Wonders of Waterman, Illinois. may be the title of this video. We'll see.
Yeah. Yeah, I will say I really like the people in that pub. I really like the vibe of that pub. If we have occasion to go through Waterman, Illinois again, I definitely want to go back.
Yeah.
So that was our adventure to Waterman, Illinois and west. I'm glad you specified that wasn't in Waterman, because we took so much abuse geographically over our first Waterman video. If I try to claim that Shabbona Lake State Park is in Waterman, Illinois, they're never going to let me live it down. So, if any of you know of a pond in Waterman, Illinois, and would like to direct us to it, we'd love to check it out. Or if any of you have seen a Bigfoot or a Dogman or any other paranormal or cryptid type thing that you would like to share with us, we'd love to hear about it. As you can see, we do take our listener reports seriously, and we do go and investigate them, and it is really fun for us to do so. So please give us more to look for. As always, thank you for listening, and thank you for subscribing.